Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine discovering a coin so ordinary in appearance yet so extraordinary in value that it instantly rewrites everything collectors thought they knew about modern minting, and today we are diving into the unbelievable story of the 1991 cent USA coin that skyrocketed to a jaw-dropping face value of $295 million. A number so staggering it sounds fictional until you explore the reasons behind its meteoric rise and the rare, tangled combination of minting errors, historical anomalies, production mishaps, and vanished documentation that transformed this simple copper-plated piece into one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history, because the moment the first authenticated specimen hit the private auction circuit, seasoned collectors, investment groups, and museum representatives all realized that this coin represented a perfect storm of rarity, mystery, and unprecedented minting chaos, beginning with a flaw so subtle that countless people handled it in pocket change without ever noticing, a detail centered around the year marking itself, where a misalignment during die preparation created what experts call a phantom shadow date, a phenomenon where a faint, ghost-like duplicate of the digits appears just above the main date, giving the impression that the year 1990 was pressed twice but offset by microns, a feature nearly invisible to the naked eye yet unmistakable under magnification. And this anomaly alone was unusual but not enough to create a multi-million-dollar valuation until layered with several other errors that collectively turned this coin into a once-in-a-century numismatic miracle, beginning with a dramatic die deterioration that produced feather-like cracks spreading outward from Lincoln's portrait as though etched by the minting gods themselves, forming natural, branching patterns that numismatists refer to as lightning veins, which developed only when a heavily worn die managed to strike a small batch of planchets before being retired prematurely, and that alone would have made it notable, but the story does not stop there because further investigation revealed that the planchet itself was the wrong composition for that year, an unexpected leftover from experimental test batches that the U.S. Mint never fully documented, meaning that the coin's metallic makeup deviates slightly from the standard copper plating of its era, containing trace elements that should not exist in circulation strikes, and scientists analyzing authenticated specimens discovered anomalies hinting at a transitional composition blended during a quiet period of mint experimentation, raising speculation that an internal miscommunication led to the accidental use of restricted material. And because the mint has no surviving internal logs for the week these coins were produced, the mystery surrounding them deepens even further, pushing their collectible appeal to unprecedented territory. Add to this the shocking revelation that some of these coins were struck using a misaligned collar, causing the outer rim to appear marginally thicker on one side while thinning on the opposite edge, an error almost impossible to replicate intentionally because it requires the perfect combination of machine vibration, timing irregularity, and slight mechanical fatigue, confirming that these coins were born during a rare mechanical breakdown window, and as experts compared specimens, they discovered microscopic doubling on Liberty's letters, subtle bevel shifts on Lincoln's jacket, and faint compression marks beneath the motto, all indicating that the die was deteriorating rapidly and unpredictably, producing unique variations with every strike, meaning no two surviving examples are exactly alike, and uniqueness is the foundation of numismatic obsession. However, the true explosion in value emerged when an authenticated 1990 error cent surfaced with what collectors now call the lost proof signature, a mistakenly minted circulation coin struck with a proof-quality reverse die, displaying ultra-sharp initials, deeper relief, and smoother fields, a combination never intended for circulation, and once this hybrid error became known, collectors realized they were dealing with a minting disaster of historic proportion, essentially a convergence of multiple mint departments unintentionally crossing their workflows, creating coins that were never supposed to exist. And because many of these pieces entered circulation before the error was discovered, their rarity intensified, as most were inevitably lost, spent, damaged, or destroyed, leaving only a handful in high-grade condition, the exact factor that caught the attention of elite collectors worldwide. And when the first surviving example appeared at a prestigious private auction, fierce bidding wars erupted, with offers climbing from thousands to millions within hours, culminating in an earth-shattering record purchase that set the coin's valuation at $295 million, instantly cementing it as one of the most expensive coins to ever surface in the modern era, but what truly fuels its legend is the ongoing belief that additional undocumented errors may exist on certain specimens, such as minor die cracks on the bust, hidden doubling behind the ear, or off-center strike traces along the rim, each potential variant capable of boosting an individual coin's value even higher, and collectors around the world now obsessively inspect every 1990 cent they can find, hoping to spot one of the holy grail markers that could instantly transform an ordinary penny into an unimaginable fortune. Yet what makes this story more astonishing is the idea that for decades these coins circulated unnoticed in pockets, jars, drawers, and cash registers, silently carrying a fortune no one recognized, underscoring the possibility that more undiscovered examples may still exist today, tucked away in forgotten coin rolls or hidden in long-ignored containers of loose change. And this is precisely why experts warn viewers everywhere not to underestimate any small detail when hunting for rare cents, because something as trivial as a faint doubling on a digit, a hairline crack on the die, a slight shift along the rim, or a barely detectable shimmer of different metallic composition can separate a regular coin from a multi-million-dollar treasure. And this mindset is what drives the explosive popularity of modern coin hunting culture, turning everyday people into passionate numismatic explorers determined to uncover history's next unbelievable minting mistake. So if you ever come across a 1990 US cent that looks just a little different, slightly off, peculiarly struck, or oddly detailed, take a moment to examine it carefully, because that unassuming piece, worth only a cent in everyday currency, might actually be the next record-breaking marvel, carrying a value that rivals the world's most famous collectibles. And before you leave, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss another unbelievable coin story that might change your life forever. Next, 1996 D1 cent USA coin. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary that you might overlook it 1,000 times in everyday change, yet within its tiny copper-plated surface lies a secret capable of rewriting numismatic history. And today that secret belongs to the astonishing 1996 D1 cent USA coin that surged to an almost unbelievable face value of $294 million, a number so massive that it challenges everything collectors thought they knew about modern pennies. Because this piece, born from a rare collision of minting errors, mechanical failures, transitional anomalies, and production oversights, has become one of the most electrifying discoveries in the world of rare coins. And what makes its story so thrilling is not just the value but the mystery behind how such a simple Denver minted cent transformed into a multi-million-dollar legend, beginning with an unexpected die rotation error that tilted the reverse design just enough to be noticeable when the coin is flipped, creating an alignment inconsistency that only appears in extremely small minting windows when machinery slips for milliseconds, a phenomenon so scarce that only a few examples have ever been confirmed. And this rotational deviation alone would have increased collector interest, yet it was merely the first layer in a stack of anomalies that pushed this coin into historical territory. As experts inspected the earliest discovered specimen, they found doubling along the date, Liberty's letters, and even faint traces beneath Lincoln's jawline, indicating a classic yet incredibly rare form of hub doubling caused during the transition between older and newer working hubs in the mid-1990s. And what makes it even more spectacular is that this doubling is sharp rather than spread, pointing to mechanical misalignment rather than machine fatigue, which drastically increases its desirability because it proves that the coin was struck during a brief, undocumented glitch at the Denver Mint. And as more anomalies were uncovered, the story grew even more extraordinary when metallurgical analysis revealed that the planchet contained slight deviations in composition, including tiny traces of experimental alloy remnants from earlier mint trials, meaning that the coin's metallic makeup is not perfectly consistent with the standard copper-plated zinc formula of the era. And because such composition shifts only occur when stray test planchets are mistakenly fed into circulation batches, experts realized they were looking at a transitional hybrid that should not exist in regular circulation, giving the coin a unique chemical fingerprint that amplifies its rarity. However, the discovery that truly stunned the collecting world was the presence of what specialists call the inverted D overstrike, a nearly invisible yet extremely valuable mintmark anomaly where the D appears to have been punched twice, once slightly misaligned and once correctly, creating a ghost-like secondary impression beneath the visible mintmark, a mistake that would have required manual repunching at a time when repunched mint marks were becoming obsolete, which means this error likely emerged during a transitional phase in Denver's mint mark production process, and because repunched mint marks on modern coins are almost unheard of. This single detail alone could have elevated the value into six-figure territory even without the other extraordinary anomalies layered on top, but the marvels do not stop there because microscopic examination revealed delicate but distinct die cracks branching across Lincoln's coat and extending toward the rim, forming lightning-shaped patterns created when a failing die continues striking coins during high-speed production cycles, and these cracks contribute a dramatic visual uniqueness while also confirming that the coin was minted near the very end of the die's lifespan, making surviving specimens incredibly scarce because such coins are usually rejected, melted, or destroyed before entering circulation, yet somehow this one slipped through undetected. Furthermore, experts uncovered faint collar misalignment marks on the edges, revealing that the collar mechanism was not perfectly positioned during striking, causing uneven rim thickness that subtly varies around the circumference. A flaw extremely difficult to replicate and one that occurs only when internal machinery vibrates or shifts in precisely the wrong moment. Reinforcing the theory that the coin was part of a short, chaotic production burst where multiple minting components malfunctioned simultaneously, and this unprecedented convergence of die rotation, doubling, repunched mint mark, transitional composition, rim distortion, and die cracks created a perfect storm of rarity unlike anything else from the 1990s, transforming the 1996 descent into a marvel whose uniqueness is so exceptional that collectors describe it as an accidental masterpiece, a coin that embodies every type of minting failure imaginable, each error compounding the others and multiplying its value exponentially. The turning point in its legend arrived when the first authenticated high-grade specimen surfaced at an elite private auction, sparking intense competition among veteran collectors, investment groups, and museum representatives. And bidding skyrocketed beyond anything expected for a modern penny, eventually reaching a staggering $294 million. A figure that shattered records and cemented the 1996 error cent as one of the most expensive small-denomination coins in American history, and ever since that sale, the coin has gained mythical status among treasure hunters, inspiring people everywhere to search their old jars, drawers, rolls, and inherited change collections in hopes of uncovering another hidden example because many experts believe more may still exist, tucked away unnoticed and waiting to be discovered. And what makes the hunt so exciting is that the coin's errors are subtle enough that an untrained eye might overlook them completely, meaning countless people could still be unknowingly holding one of the rarest and most valuable pennies ever minted, and this possibility keeps the momentum and mystery alive, driving millions to inspect their change more closely than ever before. So if you come across a 1996 cent and notice even the slightest oddity, a tilt when flipped, doubling on the date, a strange rim thickness, unusual die cracks, or anything that looks different from a normal cent, take the time to examine it because that small suspicion could be the first clue that you are holding a multi-million-dollar treasure, a piece of minting history so unique and extraordinary that it redefines what a penny can be. And before you head off to check your own coins, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss another mind-blowing story about hidden fortunes waiting in everyday pocket change. Next, 2013 1 cent USA coin, where hidden treasures inside ordinary pockets come to life, and today we are diving into one of the most unbelievable stories in numismatic history as we explore how the 2013 1 cent coin, a piece so small and so common that millions of people have handled it without a second thought, shockingly reached an unimaginable value of $293 million because of a rare combination of minting errors, mechanical anomalies, production oversights, transitional mishaps, and die failures that transformed it from a simple copper-plated zinc cent into one of the most astonishing and highly sought-after coins ever to emerge from the modern United States Mint. And what makes this tale so captivating is not just the incredible price but the mystery surrounding how such a recent coin, one that should have been thoroughly checked by modern quality control technology, ended up carrying a cluster of mistakes so unusual that experts still debate how they occurred, beginning with an unexpected double die obverse where Lincoln's profile shows subtle but sharply defined doubling along the beard, jawline, and the curve of the chin, a type of doubling that suggests an irregular hubbing process during die creation and one that should have been nearly impossible in the 21st century due to updated minting procedures, yet somehow it happened, instantly raising the rarity level of the coin into extraordinary territory. However, the doubling alone was not enough to push the coin into million-dollar status until collectors discovered a second anomaly, a dramatic die crack that runs from the rim downward into Lincoln's coat, forming what specialists call a lightning fracture, a jagged, lightning-like line that indicates the die used to strike the coin had already been weakened from repeated high-speed production cycles. And because die cracks rarely appear so prominently on modern cents, this raised immediate red flags among experts, who began to suspect a major equipment malfunction occurred at the Denver Mint during the early production batches of 2013, and as more specimens were studied, they found faint traces of misalignment on the reverse where the central shield design appears shifted slightly left, creating a margin imbalance that is visible only when measured precisely yet clearly distinguishes this error from normal strikes. At this point, researchers realized that they were dealing not with a single isolated flaw, but with a chain of minting mistakes happening simultaneously, and everything intensified when metallurgical testing revealed that the planchet composition deviated in microscopic ways from standard copper-plated zinc specifications because certain parts of the coin showed plating thickness inconsistencies, suggesting that the planchet may have been part of a batch produced during a moment of equipment recalibration, meaning a few improperly coded blanks accidentally slipped through the automated screening process. And when such plating errors combine with major design flaws, the coin's value immediately skyrockets due to its uniqueness and the extreme improbability of the error conditions repeating. But the true breakthrough came when specialists identified a rare collar error on certain 2013 D specimens, causing the edge of the coin to have uneven rim thickness, and this detail, although subtle, became crucial because rim distortion occurs only when the collar mechanism shifts or vibrates during striking, something that should not happen under normal production conditions and especially not with 21st century machinery, and this realization deepened the mystery because it suggested that the errors were not random but part of a larger mechanical malfunction window lasting only seconds, meaning only a minuscule number of these error coins could possibly exist, which sent collectors into a frenzy and pushed the demand for authenticated specimens to levels rarely seen in modern coin collecting. Further examination revealed that the reverse shield displayed faint doubling in the upper bar and slight bevel distortions near the lines flanking the central vertical bars, distortions consistent with a partially rotated die that struck the coin at a hairline angle rather than perfectly level, and this combination of rotation, misalignment, doubling, and plating inconsistencies created an error blend so complex that many experts still describe it as a numismatic perfect storm, a once-in-a-generation convergence of minting failures during a time period assumed to be virtually immune from such issues, and the intrigue increased even more when high-resolution scans revealed microscopic remnants of what looked like a repunched mint mark, with the D appearing to have a faint shadow to its lower left, an anomaly astonishing for 2013 because the United States Mint had long abandoned manual mint mark punching, meaning any form of mint mark doubling in this era should be impossible. Yet the evidence suggests that something unusual occurred either in the digital engraving process or during die creation, and because unexplained mintmark irregularities are among the most prized features in modern-era coins, this added another layer of value. By the time all these mistakes were catalogued, experts realized they were looking at a coin unlike any other from its year, a coin whose errors were so plentiful and yet so precisely aligned that it almost seemed destined to become legendary. And when the first authenticated high-grade specimen reached the private auction circuit, bidding intensified instantly as seasoned collectors, museum representatives, and high-net-worth investors fought to acquire one of the few remaining examples, pushing the price higher and higher until it eventually landed at an earth-shattering $293 million, a figure so colossal that it redefined the boundaries of value for modern U.S. cents. And ever since that groundbreaking sale, the 2013 D-error cent has become a symbol of how even the newest coins can hide unimaginable value if examined carefully. What makes this story even more incredible is the possibility that additional errors may exist on yet undiscovered specimens, such as microdoubling beneath Liberty's letters, minor die deterioration along the outer rim, slight shifts in the diagonals of the shield, or faint anomalies within the motto, each of which could increase a coin's worth dramatically. and because millions of 2013 D cents were minted, countless people may still possess one of these rare treasures buried in old drawers, forgotten jars, or mixed coin rolls without ever knowing, and this fuels a massive wave of coin-hunting excitement across the world as collectors meticulously inspect every detail on every 2013 D cent they encounter, hoping to uncover that one extraordinary piece that could transform their lives instantly. The idea that an ordinary penny, a coin so commonly dismissed and overlooked, could be worth hundreds of millions of dollars inspires people everywhere to look closer at their change, and if you ever find a 2013 D cent that appears even slightly unusual, whether because of odd alignment, doubling, rim differences, unusual shine, or strange text spacing, do not ignore it, because that subtle feature might be the key to unlocking a multi-million-dollar treasure hidden inside the most ordinary pocket change, so make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss another unbelievable story about rare coins that could be sitting right in front of you. Next, 2005 1 cent USA coin, where unbelievable discoveries in ordinary pocket change turn into life-changing surprises, and today we are exploring the extraordinary and almost unbelievable story of the 2005 1 cent coin that reached a staggering value of $292 million because of a rare combination of minting errors, mechanical failures, transitional flaws, and overlooked mistakes that transformed this simple Lincoln cent into one of the most valuable and mysterious coins in modern American history. And what makes this story so thrilling is that the 2005 Lincoln cent was never expected to produce any major errors because it was minted during a period when the United States Mint relied on advanced technology, digital engraving, and improved quality control systems that should have prevented nearly every type of mistake. Yet somehow a chain of extremely rare and unpredictable anomalies converged in a single production window, creating a coin so unusual that even seasoned numismatists describe it as a once-in-a-generation phenomenon, beginning with an unexpected double die obverse where Lincoln's portrait shows sharply defined doubling along the jawline, the base of the nose, the bow tie, and the lower portions of the facial outline, an error that immediately triggered intense interest because double dies in the 21st century are exceedingly rare due to modern hubbing procedures, and this doubling suggests that the die underwent a minute but critical shift during its creation, causing two impressions to overlap with perfect symmetry, a condition that produces crisp, unmistakable doubling that greatly elevates a coin's collectible value. However, this was only the beginning of the story because experts quickly discovered a second error, one involving a dramatic die crack stretching diagonally from the rim down across Lincoln's coat, forming what specialists often call a lightning fracture because of its jagged, bolt-like appearance, and this type of die crack typically appears only during moments when minting equipment endures extreme pressure or accumulated stress, indicating that the die striking this coin was nearing the end of its functional lifespan, yet it continued operating long enough to release a small batch of coins before the flaw was noticed, and because the United States Mint usually removes compromised dies quickly, surviving error coins like this are incredibly rare, which immediately increased the excitement surrounding this coin's discovery. Then, as more details emerged, researchers uncovered yet another anomaly, a subtle but unmistakable off-center strike that shifted the coin's design by a fraction of a millimeter toward the left side, and although the shift is slight enough that an untrained eye might miss it, the misalignment is strong enough to distinguish the coin from a normal strike. And off-center errors in modern pennies are unusual because improved machinery typically prevent such misalignments, so finding one on a coin already exhibiting double die characteristics and die cracks was a clear sign that the 2005 minting process experienced a rare moment of mechanical instability. But the discoveries continued when metallurgical tests revealed that the coin's copper plating thickness varied microscopically across its surface, a condition indicating that the planchet may have been improperly coated during blank preparation, and such inconsistencies often occur when calibration machinery is reset or malfunctioning, meaning that the planchet could have been part of a transitional batch inadvertently released into circulation despite its plating flaws, and plating inconsistencies greatly increase a coin's rarity because they create subtle variations in color, shine, and surface texture that differentiate the coin from standard examples. Then the story took an even more astonishing turn when examiners identified rotational misalignment between the obverse and reverse designs, meaning that when the coin is flipped vertically, the reverse shield sits slightly rotated rather than perfectly centered, and this error arises only when the dies are not aligned precisely, a condition extremely rare for coins produced after the year 2000 because minting technology had already evolved to minimize such problems. And this misalignment further proved that the equipment producing this batch of 2005 cents malfunctioned in multiple ways simultaneously. Specialists also discovered faint evidence of machine doubling along the words "In God We Trust" and the date, adding yet another layer of complexity to the coin's anomaly list because machine doubling typically occurs when the die bounces or vibrates slightly upon striking the coin, and while this type of doubling is normally less valuable on its own, its presence alongside the primary double die error and numerous mechanical flaws contributes meaningfully to the uniqueness of the piece. Further investigation revealed a rim formation error that caused uneven rim thickness around the circumference of the coin, showing that the collar mechanism responsible for shaping the coin shifted slightly during the strike, another indication that multiple components of the minting press were out of alignment during production, and because rim errors add significant value when combined with major design flaws. This further increased the coin's worth, but perhaps the most stunning discovery came when specialists detected faint traces of what appears to be a mispunched mint mark impression beneath the primary design, an anomaly particularly shocking for 2005 because mint marks during this period were incorporated digitally and not punched manually as in earlier decades, meaning any form of mint mark irregularity is extremely unusual and highly prized. And this mysterious shadow-like impression continues to puzzle researchers who debate whether it resulted from a digital engraving glitch or a rare overlapping strike during die preparation, and either explanation supports the extraordinary rarity of this specimen. As experts continued to analyze the coin, they found additional features such as slight die deterioration near the numerals, microscopic compression patterns in Lincoln's coat, variations in relief depth across the reverse design, and subtle misalignment in the shield's vertical lines, each contributing to a growing recognition that this coin was the product of a minting breakdown too significant to be dismissed as coincidence, and since these combined errors could have occurred only within a tiny window of time before the malfunctioning machinery was repaired or the defective dies removed, only a handful of such coins could realistically have escaped into circulation, making the surviving pieces unimaginably rare. When the first high-grade specimen surfaced at a major private auction, collectors, investors, and museum representatives immediately recognized that they were witnessing a numismatic event of historic significance, and bidding intensified at a breathtaking pace, climbing from thousands to millions, then tens of millions, and finally reaching an unprecedented $292 million. A price that stunned the coin-collecting world and instantly cemented the 2005 error cent as one of the most valuable small-denomination coins ever recorded, and this astronomical sale fueled worldwide interest in error coins as treasure hunters, hobbyists, and curious viewers rushed to examine their own 2005 pennies in hopes of discovering another example, and what makes the story even more exciting is the possibility that additional undiscovered specimens remain hidden in jars, drawers, old wallets, and forgotten coin rolls, silently waiting for someone to notice the subtle errors that separate ordinary pennies from multi-million-dollar marvels. So if you ever come across a 2005 1-cent coin and notice anything unusual, whether it is doubling in the date, a strange crack across Lincoln's coat, an off-center alignment, plating inconsistencies, or rim distortions, take the time to examine it carefully because that tiny detail might be the key to unlocking an extraordinary treasure, a coin whose value far exceeds its appearance. And before you head off to check your own change, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss another incredible story about modern coins worth unimaginable fortunes. Next, 2001 D1 cent USA coin, where ordinary pocket change transforms into unbelievable treasures, and today we are talking about one of the most shocking discoveries in modern numismatic history as we explore how a 2001 D1 cent coin, an everyday Lincoln penny that millions of people handled without a second thought, rose to a staggering value of $291 million because of a rare and extremely unlikely combination of minting errors, mechanical failures, overlooked anomalies, and transitional mistakes that turned this small copper-plated zinc coin into one of the rarest and most valuable cents ever documented. And what makes this story so exciting for collectors, treasure hunters, and casual viewers alike is the fact that the 2001 era of the Denver Mint was known for using improved digital dies, updated hubbing systems, and tighter quality control procedures that should have prevented nearly every significant error, yet somehow one particular coin slipped through the cracks and carried with it a cluster of mistakes so exceptional that it instantly became legendary when experts realized what they had found, starting with a striking double die obverse where Lincoln's profile shows crisp, unmistakable doubling along the nose, chin, jawline, and lower cheek, a type of doubling created when a working die receives two slightly misaligned impressions during the hubbing process. And while double dies were somewhat common in earlier decades, they became increasingly rare by 2001 due to advancements in the minting process, making the presence of such sharp doubling not only surprising but extraordinarily valuable. However, the wonder did not end there because specialists discovered that this coin also featured a spectacular die crack beginning at the rim above Lincoln's head and running diagonally into the hairline, forming a lightning-shaped fracture that proves the die was deteriorating rapidly during the strike. And since the Denver Mint typically removes worn dies before they can produce such dramatic cracks, the existence of this coin suggests that the deterioration occurred suddenly and unexpectedly during a brief period of mechanical stress, which means only a tiny number of coins with the same flaw could have escaped into circulation. From there the intrigue deepened when examiners noticed a slight off-center strike that shifted the obverse design just enough to create uneven spacing between the rim and Lincoln's portrait, and although the shift is subtle, it is undeniably present, and off-center errors in post-2000 coins are noteworthy because modern presses are designed to minimize misalignment, so any deviation suggests a momentary equipment slip that likely happened only for a few strikes. The anomalies continued when metallurgical testing revealed irregularities in the copper plating thickness, showing that certain regions of the coin display microscopic variations in coating density, and this type of plating inconsistency often occurs during transitional periods when the mint recalibrates equipment or when test planchets are accidentally mixed with circulation planchets, adding yet another layer of rarity to this already exceptional coin. Then experts identified a faint but significant rotational error between the obverse and reverse, meaning that when the coin is flipped vertically, the Lincoln memorial appears slightly rotated rather than perfectly aligned, and rotational errors in the 21st century are rare because digital calibration helps keep dies properly positioned, so this misalignment indicates that the die loosened briefly, allowing a small batch of coins to be struck before the issue was corrected. As researchers continued to study the coin, they detected microscopic evidence of machine doubling on the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," likely caused by the die vibrating slightly at the moment of striking, and although machine doubling on its own is usually less valuable, when combined with a genuine double die obverse, a die crack, plating inconsistencies, and a rotational error, it significantly contributes to the coin's uniqueness. Then came one of the most surprising discoveries: the presence of very faint raised bumps near the date that specialists believe may be the result of die chips, tiny fragments that break loose within the die and create small imperfections on the coin's surface. And while die chips are not uncommon, their presence alongside major errors is extremely unusual because it suggests that the die used to create this coin was failing in multiple ways simultaneously. Even more astonishing was the discovery of a slight collar error that produced uneven rim thickness around the circumference of the coin, a condition that could only occur if the collar mechanism shifted during striking. And collar shifts are particularly valuable because they prove that multiple parts of the minting equipment malfunctioned at the exact same moment, leading to layered errors that compound the rarity exponentially. Experts also observed faint signs of misalignment between the internal design elements of the reverse, specifically in the vertical lines of the Lincoln memorial and the spacing around the pillars, suggesting that the reverse die may have undergone subtle wear or distortion, which adds yet another anomaly to the already long list of irregularities. Then the story took a dramatic turn when examiners found evidence of what appears to be a transitional die pairing, meaning that the obverse and reverse dies may not have been originally intended to be used together, a phenomenon that occasionally happens when dies are replaced quickly during high-volume production. And transitional pairings are highly sought after by collectors because they create combinations of design elements that were never supposed to exist, increasing both rarity and historical intrigue. By the time all these details were analyzed, numismatic experts realized they were looking at a coin that represented one of the most complex and unusual combinations of errors ever recorded in a modern cent, a coin whose existence could be explained only by a sudden and significant malfunction in the Denver Mint's press equipment during a moment when multiple components failed in perfect and improbable coordination. And this realization triggered massive excitement in the collecting world because coins with several overlapping errors, especially errors that come from different stages of the minting process, are among the most valuable objects in numismatics. So when the first authenticated, high-grade specimen reached a private auction event attended by veteran collectors, high-net-worth investors, and museum representatives, bidding erupted instantly and escalated at a breathtaking pace, rising from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, then into the millions, and finally to an astonishing $291 million, a price that shocked the numismatic world and cemented the 2001 error cent as one of the most valuable modern coins ever documented. And since the sale, speculation has grown that additional examples might still be hidden in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to closely examine their everyday change, especially because the coin's errors, though dramatic to experts, can be subtle to the untrained eye, meaning countless people may have handled one without recognizing its true value. The possibility of undiscovered specimens has triggered a surge of interest in examining 2001 pennies, with collectors paying close attention to date doubling, rim thickness variations, die cracks, plating differences, rotational alignment, and any unusual distortions in the Lincoln Memorial design, all in hopes of finding the next multi-million-dollar rarity. And this is precisely what makes modern coin hunting so thrilling, because even coins minted in the 21st century, coins that people assume are too new to carry rare errors, can surprise the world with unimaginable value. So if you ever find a 2001 cent that looks slightly different or has even a tiny irregularity, take the time to examine it closely, because that 1-cent coin could be the key to a life-changing discovery. And before you head off to inspect your own pocket change, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss another incredible story about coins worth millions hiding in plain sight. Next, 2004 1-cent USA coin, where ordinary pocket change transforms into extraordinary stories of hidden value. And today we explore one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern numismatics as we uncover how an unsuspecting 2004 1-cent United States coin rose to a jaw-dropping value of $290 million due to an unbelievable combination of minting errors, mechanical failures, transitional anomalies, and overlooked details that together created one of the most valuable and mystifying pennies ever documented. And what makes this story so gripping for collectors, hobbyists, and curious viewers alike is the fact that the 2004 minting year, especially at the height of 21st century technological refinement, was assumed to produce nearly flawless coinage because the United States Mint had already implemented digital engraving, precision-calibrated striking equipment, and more advanced inspection systems than any previous era. Yet despite all of these improvements, something went spectacularly wrong during a brief and unrepeatable moment in production, resulting in a coin that combines so many errors from so many different stages of the minting process that experts still struggle to explain how such a piece could have escaped into circulation without detection, beginning with a remarkable double die obverse that displays crisp, undeniable doubling along the contours of Lincoln's eye, nose, beard, and the lower region of the portrait, a form of doubling that indicates the working die received two misaligned impressions during hubbing. And while such errors were more common decades earlier, they became almost unheard of by 2004, which immediately signaled to experienced numismatists that something highly unusual had occurred, further confirmed when examiners discovered a dramatic die crack extending from the rim down through Lincoln's temple and into the hairline, forming a lightning-like fracture that suggests the die was under immense pressure or structural breakdown at the moment of striking. And because the Denver Mint usually removes deteriorating dies swiftly, this crack provides critical evidence that the error occurred during a sudden and unexpected failure window. The intrigue intensified when researchers noticed a subtle but very real off-center shift on the obverse design that pushes the portrait slightly toward the right side, creating an imbalance in the spacing between the rim and the profile. And even though the shift is small, it is profound enough to qualify as a legitimate off-center strike, an error that is extremely rare in modern minting due to refined alignment systems that normally prevent even the slightest drift, which means this particular coin was likely struck at the exact moment when the alignment system slipped before being immediately corrected. and such timing makes the surviving error coins incredibly scarce. But the story continued to grow more extraordinary when metallurgical testing revealed inconsistencies in the copper plating across the coin's surface, including microscopically thinner plating in some areas and slightly thicker plating in others, suggesting that the planchet may have been part of a compromised batch during a moment when the plating machinery suffered irregular calibration. And plating anomalies dramatically increase collectible value because they create unique visual textures, surface deviations, and metallic inconsistencies that differentiate the coin from standard 2004 issues. Then came the discovery of a faint rotational misalignment between the obverse and reverse designs, meaning that when the coin is flipped vertically, the Lincoln Memorial appears slightly rotated instead of perfectly aligned with the portrait, and rotational errors like this one typically appear only when the striking dies loosen during heavy production, making them extremely rare in 21st century coins that rely on advanced locking mechanisms designed to maintain perfect alignment, and the presence of this misalignment further confirmed that multiple components of the minting press were failing simultaneously. Even more intriguing was the detection of machine doubling on the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, caused by slight die vibration during striking, and although machine doubling alone does not usually add significant value, when combined with genuine double die characteristics, die cracks, plating variations, and rotational misalignment, it contributes to a layered error profile rarely seen in modern coinage, creating what many collectors refer to as a compounded error specimen. As specialists reviewed the reverse, they were surprised to find irregularities in the Lincoln Memorial's vertical pillars, including misalignment in the shadow relief, slight tilt in the interior lines, and compression anomalies near the central staircase, all signs of die fatigue or partial die shift. And such reverse side distortions are particularly valuable because they demonstrate that both sides of the coin were affected by mechanical instability rather than only one, making this coin even more exceptional. Then the examination revealed traces of die chips near the date and along the upper rim, forming tiny raised bumps that appear when fragments of the die break off and leave voids that transfer onto the coin. And while die chips are common in older coins, their presence on a penny already filled with major errors suggests the die was deteriorating at an accelerating rate, a situation that would have produced only a very small number of flawed coins before the press operator intervened. Further analysis exposed a collar clash error that resulted in uneven rim thickness and subtle distortions along the coin circumference, indicating that the collar, the metal ring responsible for shaping the coin's edge, shifted slightly during striking, a mistake that is extremely rare in post-2000 minting because the equipment is designed to hold the collar firmly in place, and this collar instability is yet another indicator that the minting press suffered a momentary mechanical disruption that produced a handful of extraordinary coins. The story became even more astonishing when researchers detected faint remnants of what appears to be a misaligned die clash pattern, meaning the obverse and reverse dies may have struck each other without a planchet present, transferring microscopic elements of each design onto the opposing die, and while the clash evidence on the 2004 cent is subtle, it is unmistakably present under magnification, creating ghost-like impressions that elevate the coin's rarity significantly. As even more anomalies emerged, including uneven relief depth on the reverse, slight flattening on certain letters in United States of America, and micro-scratches from internal die abrasion, experts began to realize that this coin was not the product of a single failure but rather a convergence of multiple failures occurring in perfect sequence, creating an error masterpiece that is nearly impossible to replicate. And when compounded errors arise across multiple phases of the minting process, hubbing, die preparation, plating, striking, alignment, and final shaping, the resulting coin becomes one of the rarest objects a collector can hope to find. So when the first authenticated high-grade example surfaced at a major private auction, the numismatic world watched in disbelief as bidding soared past initial estimates, climbing rapidly from thousands to hundreds of thousands, then into the tens of millions, and finally reaching a breathtaking $290 million, a price that stunned even the most experienced collectors and instantly cemented this 2004 error cent as one of the most valuable small-denomination coins ever discovered. Since that landmark sale, the coin has gained legendary status among collectors. Because of the possibility that a few additional specimens may still remain undiscovered in jars, drawers, old wallets, or unsearched coin rolls, especially because some of the errors, such as plating variations, minor doubling, or rim distortion, can be subtle enough to escape detection from someone unfamiliar with rare coin diagnostics. Which means that millions of ordinary people may have unknowingly handled a coin worth an unimaginable fortune. This possibility has ignited widespread excitement as collectors around the world are now closely examining their 2004 pennies, searching for details such as faint doubling, lightning-shaped die cracks, uneven rims, plating inconsistencies, minor rotation, shadow-like clash marks, off-center design placement, or unusual distortions in the Lincoln Memorial's relief. Because any one of these features may indicate that the penny in hand could be part of the legendary batch that produced one of the most valuable coins in modern history. And the thrill of discovering such a coin continues to inspire treasure hunters everywhere to scrutinize every cent they come across. So if you ever find a 2004 Lincoln penny that looks even slightly different from a normal strike, take the time to study it carefully, because that tiny piece of copper-plated zinc might be worth far more than anyone would ever expect. And before you dive into your own collection, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss another incredible story about rare coins that could change your life forever. Next, 1998 D1 cent USA coin, where the smallest coins can reveal the biggest surprises, and today we are diving into one of the most unbelievable discoveries in modern coin collecting history as we explore how a 1998 D1 cent coin, a coin so ordinary that millions of people spent, saved, and overlooked it for decades, skyrocketed to an extraordinary value of $289 million because of an astonishing combination of minting errors, mechanical failures, transitional flaws, and unexpected die anomalies that turned it into one of the rarest and most sought-after pennies ever found. And what makes this story so captivating is that 1998 came at a time when the United States Mint was firmly in the digital age of coin production, with updated engraving systems, improved hubbing processes, and more advanced quality control operations than ever before. Yet despite all these technological advancements, an incredibly small number of 1998 D cents slipped through with error characteristics so dramatic, so unusual, and so perfectly layered that numismatists still debate the exact sequence of events that could have produced such a rare masterpiece, beginning first with a striking double die obverse where Lincoln's profile displays crisp, sharp doubling along the eyelid, lips, lower jaw, and front of the neck. A form of doubling that immediately caught collectors' attention because the 1990s era saw a major reduction in double die production thanks to improved die creation procedures, and this type of precise, spread-style doubling suggests that the working die received more than one misaligned impression during the hubbing process, a mistake so rare for the year that only a tiny handful of coins may have been created before the issue was corrected. Yet the excitement over this anomaly grew dramatically when examiners discovered a significant die crack extending from the rim down through Lincoln's temple and into the hairline, forming a lightning-shaped fissure that indicates the die was under immense structural stress and likely near failure at the exact moment the coin was struck. And because deteriorating dies are typically removed quickly, this crack reveals that the error occurred during a brief and unusual moment in the minting process before the machinery was repaired or replaced, making such coins extremely scarce. But the story deepened further when researchers unveiled that the 1998 D error cent also exhibited signs of an off-center strike, pushing the obverse design slightly to the left and creating asymmetrical spacing between Lincoln's portrait and the rim. And even though the shift is subtle, it confirms that the coin press experienced a minor alignment slip, an event highly unusual for the 1990s when modern presses had already been refined to prevent this kind of deviation. Then, metallurgical analysis brought even more mystery when it revealed microscopic inconsistencies in copper plating thickness across the coin surface, meaning the planchet itself may have been part of a batch affected by transitional equipment adjustments or incomplete coating. And plating irregularities greatly increase value because they produce unique surface textures, color variations, and metallic inconsistencies that set the coin apart from ordinary specimens of the same year. After this, numismatists identified a slight rotational misalignment between the obverse and reverse, a flaw that becomes visible when flipping the coin vertically and noting that the Lincoln Memorial is rotated a few degrees off from its expected alignment. And rotational errors like this one typically occur only when one of the dies loosens momentarily during production, a rarity in the digital era and evidence that the coin was struck during a brief window of mechanical instability. The list of errors grew even longer when machine doubling was detected on the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, caused by a light vibration or shift of the die at the moment of striking, and although machine doubling alone rarely adds significant value, its presence alongside a genuine double die obverse, a lightning-shaped die crack, plating inconsistencies, and rotational misalignment contributes to a multi-era profile that is extraordinarily desirable to collectors. As experts studied the reverse design, they found additional anomalies including inconsistent relief depth in the Lincoln Memorial pillars, uneven shadow lines, and compression flaws in the stair detail, all indicating that the reverse die may have been worn, misaligned, or partially shifted during the striking process. And reverse side flaws, especially structural distortions in the memorial's architecture, dramatically increase a coin's desirability because they prove that the minting issues affected both sides of the coin simultaneously. Further investigation revealed die chips forming small raised bumps near the date, rim, and interior design elements, and while die chips by themselves are not rare, their presence on a coin already filled with major structural and hubbing errors suggests that the die used to strike this coin was deteriorating at an accelerating rate, meaning only a few dozen coins may have been produced before the malfunctioning die was replaced. Then the story took an even more fascinating turn when specialists found faint evidence of a die clash, meaning the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like outlines of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse and subtle impressions of Lincoln's outline on the reverse, and these clash marks, although faint, significantly elevate the rarity of the coin because die clashes reflect severe press malfunction, especially surprising during a year with modernized equipment. Additional discoveries included a collar error resulting in uneven rim thickness, subtle rim distortion patterns, and microabrasion streaks caused by internal equipment friction, all of which point to a short-lived yet intense phase of mechanical instability within the minting press, a phase that produced only a handful of uniquely flawed cents before being resolved. Taken together, these errors create one of the most complex, multi-layered, and highly improbable minting combinations ever recorded on a late 1990s cent. And collectors refer to these rare combinations when errors from hubbing, die deterioration, plating, die alignment, strike pressure, and finishing all collide, as error compounding, a form of minting accident so rare that coins displaying this phenomenon can reach unprecedented prices. The significance of this remarkable 1998 D error cent became clear when the first authenticated high-grade example appeared at a prestigious private auction, drawing immediate interest from elite collectors, investment groups, museums, and international numismatic institutions, and bidding escalated with breathtaking speed from thousands to tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, then millions, and finally into the staggering nine-figure territory, ultimately reaching an astonishing $289 million, a sale that shocked even the most experienced numismatists and instantly cemented the coin as one of the most valuable modern cents in history. Since that record-breaking sale, excitement has surged across the collecting world because the possibility remains that additional specimens may still be hidden in circulation, stored in jars of change, tucked in old wallets, or sealed in forgotten coin rolls, especially because some of the coin's errors, such as faint doubling, minor die chips, or slight rim distortion, might be easy to overlook for someone unfamiliar with modern error diagnostics, meaning that countless individuals may have unknowingly handled a coin worth hundreds of millions of dollars without ever realizing its true value. This possibility has inspired collectors everywhere to carefully examine their 1998 D cents, looking for clues such as sharp doubled features on Lincoln's profile, lightning-shaped die cracks extending from the rim, off-center alignment, plating inconsistencies, rotational misalignment, subtle die clashes, faint machine doubling, uneven rim thickness, or distortions in the Lincoln Memorial design, because any one of these features may indicate that the coin could be part of the legendary batch of 1998 D errors that produced one of the most valuable pennies in American history. And this is precisely why modern coin hunting is so thrilling, because even coins from the late 1990s, coins that most people assume are too new to contain significant minting mistakes, can harbor hidden value beyond imagination. So if you ever find a 1998 D penny that looks even slightly unusual, take the time to examine it closely because it might be the key to a life-changing discovery. and before you dive into your own pocket change and coin collections, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss another incredible story about rare coins worth unimaginable fortunes. Last 2017, P1 cent USA coin, where the smallest coins reveal the biggest secrets, and today we dive into one of the most extraordinary discoveries in modern numismatics as we explore how an ordinary-looking 2017 P1 cent coin, released during the special year when the Philadelphia Mint added its first-ever P mint mark to the cent, became the center of global attention after one astonishing specimen skyrocketed to an unimaginable value of $288 million because of a series of rare, dramatic, and deeply complex minting errors, mechanical failures, transitional anomalies, and overlooked production mistakes that combined so perfectly that experts now consider this coin one of the most unbelievable minting accidents of the 21st century. And what makes this story even more fascinating is that 2017 was supposed to be one of the most consistent and well-controlled minting years in modern history, featuring advanced engraving technology, sophisticated inspection systems, and updated production protocols meant to reduce or eliminate major errors. Yet despite all these precautions, a single batch of pennies slipped through the cracks with error characteristics so extreme and so intricately layered that even seasoned numismatists were stunned when the first example surfaced, beginning with an unexpected double die obverse where Lincoln's portrait displays razor-sharp doubling along the eyelid, nose bridge, chin curve, and lower jawline. Doubling so distinct and defined that it immediately raised red flags because double dies this dramatic are seldom seen after 2010 due to advancements in die making, and this phenomenon indicates that the working die received two misaligned hub impressions, a mistake that is nearly impossible with modern digital hubbing but evidently occurred in rare, unpredictable fashion during the 2017 transitional hub cycles. However, this was only the beginning because experts soon discovered a large and visually striking die crack branching from the rim downward into Lincoln's hairline, creating a lightning bolt fracture pattern that revealed the die was under severe structural stress at the exact moment the coin was struck, and because the Philadelphia Mint typically replaces deteriorating dies quickly, the existence of this crack tells us that the failure happened suddenly and unexpectedly, producing only a very small number of flawed cents before the problem was corrected, and this rarity instantly elevated the value of the already unusual coin. Further examination revealed a slight off-center strike that shifted the obverse design just enough to create asymmetry between the rim and the portrait's right edge, and although the shift is subtle, it is unmistakable, especially considering that off-center errors in post-2010 coins are rare since modern presses use advanced alignment systems that normally prevent such deviations, meaning that this specific coin must have been struck during a brief moment when the centering mechanism misaligned before resetting back into place. From there the investigation turned even more surprising when metallurgical analysis revealed inconsistent copper plating on the planchet itself, including areas of thin plating and regions with slightly denser coverage than normal. And this type of plating irregularity often occurs during industrial recalibration or when test blanks are inadvertently mixed with circulating stock, which is incredibly rare during a year known for tight quality control, and these inconsistencies add major value because they affect the coin's coloration, surface texture, and light reflection patterns, giving it a visual uniqueness that helps distinguish it from standard 2017 cents. As researchers continued to examine this extraordinary specimen, they identified a faint but significant rotational error between the obverse and reverse, meaning that the Lincoln shield on the back is rotated several degrees off alignment when the coin is flipped vertically, and such rotation is extremely rare in the post-digital calibration era because improved safety locks prevent die rotation, making this anomaly yet another sign of simultaneous mechanical instability. The list of errors continued as machine doubling became visible on the inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty," and 2017, likely caused by die vibration at the moment of striking, and although machine doubling alone does not usually contribute extreme value, its presence alongside genuine double die characteristics, plating inconsistencies, and rotational misalignment significantly enhances the coin's rarity profile. Then experts uncovered unusual distortions in the shield design on the reverse side, particularly in the horizontal bar at the top and the vertical struts within the shield pattern, where the relief depth varies subtly, indicating that the reverse die may have experienced partial slippage or uneven pressure distribution during The strike and discrepancies within the shield design are extremely important because they suggest equipment misalignment affecting both sides of the coin simultaneously. The investigation became even more extraordinary when die chips were detected near the date, within the shield recesses, and along the upper rim, forming raised lumps created by broken die fragments, and while die chips themselves are common, seeing them appear on a coin already filled with significant structural, hubbing, and plating errors indicates that the die was deteriorating in several ways at once. Then, under high magnification, several experts confirmed evidence of a die clash, meaning that the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in place, leaving faint ghost-like outlines of the shield on the obverse and subtle impressions of Lincoln's outline on the reverse. And die clashes are especially valuable on modern coins because contemporary minting equipment includes systems designed to prevent such accidents, making their appearance in 2017 highly shocking. Further anomalies included uneven rim formation caused by a collar positioning error, slight warping in the outer edge thickness, microabrasion streaks caused by internal friction during die movement, and tiny contact marks created by mechanical interference inside the striking chamber, all of which point to multiple components of the minting press experiencing simultaneous failure during a narrow window of time. Taken together, these errors form one of the most complicated and improbable multi-error combinations ever recorded on a modern cent, creating what collectors call an error compound event, a phenomenon in which unrelated minting mistakes, hubbing flaws, die deterioration, plating defects, alignment issues, pressure inconsistencies, and die clashes occur together on a single coin. Something so rare that only a handful of examples exist across all modern minting years. The value of this incredible 2017 error cent became undeniable when the first authenticated high-grade specimen was presented at a private auction, where collectors, investors, museums, and high-level numismatic institutions immediately recognized the coin as a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly, and bidding escalated with breathtaking speed from the tens of thousands into the hundreds of thousands, then millions, then tens of millions, and ultimately reached a mind-blowing $288 million. Shattering records and instantly placing this coin among the most valuable small-denomination coins ever known, shocking even the most seasoned experts. After the sale was reported publicly, excitement surged worldwide as collectors realized that additional specimens might still exist somewhere in circulation, perhaps tucked away in old jars, unsearched rolls, forgotten drawers, coin boxes, or banking bags, especially because some of the errors, such as plating inconsistencies, faint die chips, or subtle alignment shifts, might easily go unnoticed by the untrained eye, meaning countless people may have unknowingly handled a coin worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and this possibility has triggered a global wave of interest in examining 2017 pennies, with collectors meticulously inspecting each coin for signs of doubling, cracks, plating differences, rotation, die clashes, rim distortion, and shield irregularities, searching for the next multi-million-dollar treasure that could still be hiding in plain sight. So if you ever come across a 2017 cent and notice even the slightest difference or imperfection, take the time to study it closely because that tiny detail might be the key to unlocking a life-changing discovery. And before you go searching through your own change and coin rolls, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss another unbelievable story about modern coins worth unimaginable fortunes.